Hi BookTube, it's Amy. So I'm back again to show you in more detail this edition of the Admirable Crichton that I had delivered today. So this is a comedic play published by J.M. Barrie in 1902. So it was first performed in 1902 and you could purchase editions of the play in 1902. And I'm not sure when this edition dates to, but I would suggest that it came out not long afterwards. And this front cover is quite interesting. So you've got the cast of characters sitting around this boiling pot, and the pot is attached to this jungle vine of sorts. In the middle, you have, I would assume that's the butler, Crichton, and I'm not sure who that would be. Perhaps that's meant to be him as well. Him in England and him on the island. And there's a couple of monkeys up here, and we've got monkeys all across the top of the book. Palm trees here, and some sort of tropical leaves and vines and whatnot. So if you don't know the story of this play, it's essentially about a wealthy family who have many servants, including a butler named Crichton, and Crichton is quite stuck up, so to speak. He's very, very much attached to the social position and to the social classes and to the class system, so to speak, because he says it is the way of nature. There will always be people who serve and people who are served. And he is unwilling to compromise at all in his life in England because he believes that everyone is in their natural place. Now, they go off on a bit of a journey, get shipwrecked on a desert island, and Crichton is still attached to his ideas of nature, only we see that his ideas go a lot farther than they would appear to at first glance, because now it is a different social order. It is the strong who lead, and the ones who were strong and wealthy in England are not the ones who are strong and wealthy on this island. And Crichton becomes, a robust leader. He becomes the captain of the group, and the former wealthy family serve him. And I'm just noticing there's pineapples or something dangling by strings on these garlands. So I purchased this from a bookseller in Gatineau, Quebec. There is a old library sticker on the spine, which is certainly glued on there, and I don't think that's going to come off. So that will probably have to stay unless I can do some research. Oh, there we go. I can peel a little bit. Maybe it'll come off. I'll see what I can do with that. But I'm not sure exactly when my edition is from. It was presented to the Fraser Institute Free Public Library in Montreal in 1944, I'm assuming. And I'm not sure whether this was part of the collection number or a call number of some sort. We have some different numbers here. So this is a library discard from the Fraser Institute in Montreal. No clear publication date here, just that it's been copyrighted in its dramatic form in England and in America. That would, of course, include Canada, I suppose. Most of the Commonwealth countries were still covered under English copyright law. So there's a beautiful illustration here, pasted in after the fact. And this would be in the opening scene of the play. So there is Lord Loam, and he has got it into his head that for one day a month, all the servants should come up and be served tea by the ladies and gentlemen of the family. And this is the same as that's on the front board of the book, printed on here in this green-gray ink. And this illustration I noticed is repeated throughout the book. It's interesting, I don't know if you can tell, but it's not entirely straight on the page, which means either the printers were off or the binding is off. We've got this number down here again written in from its time at the Fraser Library in Montreal. And as I said when I hauled it, it seems to come from someone's private collection. Oh, we've got a little bit of a tear in the page up there. Someone's private collection that would have been donated to the Fraser Library in 1944. And this I mentioned in my haul video as well. There is a library stamp here, and I'm not entirely sure what that precisely would be called, but I've seen them in many library discards I've come across. So I ordered this off of Abe Books from a bookstore in Gatineau, and it was $22 US. Abe Books is an American site, so everything is in US dollars, regardless of where you're selling or purchasing from. So even though the shop I bought this from is really just, a kilometer or two on the other side of the river, I paid them in US dollars, and they got the funds in US dollars, and there was an exchange rate. And so the current exchange rate is about 72 cents. So $1 Canadian is worth 72 cents US. And so that comes out to about 30 Canadian dollars, plus 10 more dollars US shipping. So that gives you some idea of what I paid for this book. And I was quite willing to pay that price because this is really a beautiful book, and I'm glad to add it to my collection. I need to purchase another bookshelf though, because I don't really have space out here in the living room, and my tiny shelf in the bedroom where I keep my Jamberry is actually full. In fact, one of the Jamberry volumes is sitting sideways on top of some other books, which is certainly not a good way to store it, but I'm not sure where else to store it at this point. Because if I don't do that, then I've got to put it on the floor or something. And so I do need another shelf, and I've been sort of scouting around online. I don't really like the large, pressed wood shelves. I prefer something sort of a little more delicate looking. I have a couple, I wish I could find more of these, but these old aluminum shelves. I remember as a kid having some absolutely massive ones, but I like these because they're lightweight yet sturdy, and they're sort of light and airy, so you can see the wall through them, if you know what I mean. And so it doesn't seem quite as, ominous and bulky as a solid shelf. But that aside, that's a problem for another day. And this is definitely a volume that you have to set up down on a table to read. Too large and heavy to hold up or sit in your lap. If you tried to hold it up, you'd probably damage it, which is why I've got it sitting on the floor here. There is The Maid, and there is Crichton. Some more of The Servants. There's this funny scene in the play where Lord Loam has decided that they need to learn how to fend for themselves, the women in his family. And so they're going on this trip, and he tells them they can only have one lady's maid between the three of them. And so at first they say they're going to take Tweenie. They'll take Tweenie with them. And Tweenie refuses because it is beneath her to serve three ladies at once. Oh, that's a beautiful illustration. It's beneath her to serve three ladies at once. She will go look for another position she has quit. And one after another, all three of the ladies' maids quit and refuse to be the one who is going to look after three ladies on this boat trip. And so they end up picking out this, low-level kitchen maid, the lowest level in the kitchen, and because she has some skill with sewing and hairdressing, she becomes the lady's maid, and she, as this is a new position to her, is quite happy to leave the kitchen, but only if Crichton goes with her, because she is unwilling to leave Crichton, who it's indicated that she is either attached to in either a romantic way, or perhaps as a father figure of sorts. It's really hard to say. And then, of course, it's ridiculous because the maid is the only one who dresses properly. They have a minute or two to dress as the ship is going down and they're headed to the lifeboats. And the wealthy lady, they're in their bathrobes and they're wearing their slippers, and it's really Crichton and the maid who were smart enough to bring some proper clothing, and the maid is the only one who owns a real skirt, and so the women all end up wearing homemade trousers from animals they kill on the island and whatnot. And there's one skirt that some of them borrow for special occasions, and I think I made a mistake earlier, because Tweenie is not one of the ladies' maids who refuses. Tweenie is the maid who goes to the island with them. So Tweenie is the one with the skirt. And she gets, all high and mighty because now she's the proper lady on this island with the skirt. And she won't let any of the others borrow it unless they, offer her things. And here they are sitting on the island. There is, I'm assuming that's Lord Loam in his bathrobe. And actually, this doesn't quite hold up because the illustrations don't properly match the play, because they do appear to have, a bit of a proper dress there. Lord Loam in the bushes. Sniff, Uncle. Yeah, Lord Loam gets begin to be called Uncle, and he's sort of this man lounging about. Not all that useful. He's quite a high and mighty man in England, but when it comes to the island, he certainly is no lord. And this illustration is funny because all these monkeys are peering out at him as he's taking a nap in the grass. Oh, and this is getting quite long. It's been 14 minutes already. No matter. If you made it this far, I hope you enjoyed what you've seen. I'm just going to keep flipping here and see if there are any other interesting illustrations to be shown. Oh, that feels like something. There we go. They are sitting around the fire. I don't know, the illustrator makes them all, a lot of them look like young children, but in the play that's not how they seem. And they build this fantastic island home, like you would imagine something out of the Swiss Family Robinson, you know, their tree house. I'd like to know how he got an accordion. Tweenie, alone among the women, had dressed wisely for an island when they fled the yacht. I think I've got another, perhaps? It feels as though I've got 2 pages stuck together here. Maybe not. Nope, I guess not. Let's see, let's take a flip and see what else of note there is to show here. Sees his beaker filled with wine. Can you imagine the ability to build such a home on an island with no resources? In fact, at one point, Crichton is mad that someone didn't save a hairpin they had, because they could have used a hairpin to make all manner of things. And here's some of them fishing, and I think those are actually some of the ladies of the party. They're dressed almost as you would imagine, like a Robin Hood or a Peter Pan to be dressed on this island. And I won't give away the ending for you, but they don't stay on the island forever. So that is a beautiful addition to my collection. I will see what I can do about this library sticker.